Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
We'd like to underline that these are just precautionary measures. We don't want to start a panic.
Did anybody feel that?
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. Please just stay calm.
I felt that.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show, the 1st of June 2015. We're already halfway through the year. Have we seen the best one so far? Maybe we haven't, we'll see. But I'm Andrew.
And I'm Stuart, and just to give you a clue, if we have or have not seen it, I tallied up my total scores of the films this year so far, and I've seen just over 100 films. I'm lagging behind a little bit. I need to catch up. There's a few films that I missed. And out of a possible 1,000, so 1,000 points, I've given 462 points out of a possible 1,000. So I've still not got past 500. So that might give you an indication.
So your list of the films for the year at the most are half as good, not even half as good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Average.
All I'll say is that no film has got higher than an 8. An 8 is a huge number for me. But there is one film that has scored a 1.
I think we'll might guess what that is if you listen to previous shows.
And it is out in a few weeks' time in the cinema.
Well, talking of cinema, this is the cinema part of the show. We'll be going through the next sort of hour and a half normally for the whole show, which will do the cinema section, which will include a look at the latest pieces of movie news, the box office top 10, and releases including these films.
Yep, Al Pacino and Danny Collins. You've got the big explosive action disaster film from the director of Journey 2, The Mysterious Island, with San Andreas.
I didn't actually realise it was him.
Yeah, Simon Pegg in Man Up. You've got comedy, in big massive air quotes, from the people behind the Hangover series with Search Party, and French film The Connection.
Yep, and as usual then we'll go into the home releases section, which will have the UK DVD Blu-ray top 10. And then a look at these new releases on DVD and Blu-ray.
X_, if you want to be very specific, Machina. American Sniper from director Clint Eastwoods, Shaun the Sheep, the movie, Whiplash, brilliant film. You already know what we think of that film. Mark Wahlberg in The Gambler, Ryan Gosling's directorial debut in Lost River, and Stretch.
I think we can pretty much say this week's actually mostly looking up.
Sort of,
yeah. Except for a couple of titles that we'll get through eventually. You'll know which ones it is when we get to them, I think.
I'm reviewing them. So, yeah, I am actually reviewing the worst films of this week.
Well, first off, we're going to go into some movie news, though, as usual. I'll do the couple I've got, because you've got more than I have, as usual. The ones I've got, there's been talk about the casting of the next Spider-Man going on. According to sources, there were testings done at the weekend on Saturday, with it coming down to potentially 6 people that tested out for the roles, 2 of which are very familiar. The other 4 are not particularly well known. Some of them have roles in upcoming films that are coming out soon but haven't been released yet, so we don't know for definite if there's any chance any of these. It could possibly be that none of these will get the role, but the 2 big contenders that are known by name are Tom Holland, who, if you don't know who he is, if you saw the tsunami drama The Impossible with Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor, he was the young boy in that helped search and find them. And we agreed that he was the standout of that film, I think.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The other one is a very promising young actor who's been had maybe a bit more recognition with things. Asa Butterfield, who was seen last in, I think the last thing I saw him in actually was Ender's Game. He might have been in something since then. but he's been in that. He started out on the TV series Merlin, so people in the UK probably recognise him most of all. The other four that are not so well known are Judah Lewis, Matthew Lintz, Charlie Plummer, and Charlie Rowe. Present for all the screening, the testings were Marvel studio head Kevin Feige. I can never pronounce his name right. I'm never sure.
You're allowed Feige, you're allowed Feige, you're allowed either.
What about Feige?
I think only his friends can call him Feige.
Feige, yeah, that'd be a great nickname. Feige, all right, Feige. And also present were Joe and Anthony Russo, who are the directors of the last and the next Captain America movie, the latter of which were based on the storyline Civil War from the comics, which did feature the character of Spider-Man fairly heavily.
Question, how young are they going to go with Spider-Man? Because I think Asa Butterfield is a bit too young, because he doesn't turn 20 until 2017.
Well, they are supposedly going to be going for teen that he'll still be at school when it starts off. I think they want to try and get an early start on someone, because then they'll have kind of a longevity of an actor in the role to last through subsequent films. Because presumably there's going to be appearance in this, there's going to be appearance in the next Captain America, there's going to be appearance in a standalone Spider-Man film, there's going to be appearance in Avengers, the two-part Avengers that we'll be doing later on as well. So it's going to be a person who's going to be appearing in the role quite a bit, and so they're going to need someone who, I think, to try and tie it in. I think they're going for sort of 15 or so age to try and make it so that it's someone they can keep in the role for quite a while.
It's an interesting choice between Asa Butterfield and Tom Holland, because they're both similar in age. They've both got sort of like a youthful look to them. They don't look their age. You would look at Tom Holland and not think that he is coming up to 20, and same with Asa Butterfield, that he is going to be 20 in a couple of years' time. And so I can see why they are interested in both of them too. It's hard to differentiate between them both, because they are both fantastic actors. Like you said, Tom Holland in The Impossible, and he did a voice for Arrietty. Back to Ghibli. See, I got my Ghibli quarter in there. And he was
what was that? That was 7 minutes and 18 seconds.
Oh, well, still. He was in How I Live Now as well, and he also was in Locke, because he played the son of Tom Hardy's character in Locke. And so, Asa Butterfield, we've seen him in Hugo, which I absolutely loved. Hugo. And so it's really difficult for me to choose between them both. I think they both will play a young Spider-Man brilliantly.
I guess it will come down, if it's between the two of them, I think it would come down to their accents, how they can do it. Because we know Asa Butterfield can do a convincing American accent. If you've seen him in Ender's Game, he does a really thoroughly convincing accent, because they are both British actors. So it'll be a case of, I think, if they can do a decent, convincing American, and also I think it needs to be slightly New York accent as well, because that's where Spider-Man Peter Parker, is based. I think that's a kind of crucial thing that they'll want. And I definitely know, from what we've seen of him, I think Asa Butterfield can do that. I think Asa Butterfield can also act his behind off, because if you see the Ender's Game towards the end of the film, there are some really strong emotional performances in that film, and even early on as well, but especially the moments in that film, I think he's the front runner for me.
Again, you could say that about Tom Holland, though, because you look at The Impossible, and The Impossible, especially the character, what he has to go through in that movie is immense. And so it's a really heart-pounding performance from him. And so that's why it's so difficult, because I would look at Asa Butterfield and go, Hugo, he was fantastic in that, and Ender's Game. And Tom Holland, he was fantastic in The Impossible, and it's just really difficult. Like asking to choose your favourite child. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to my last piece of movie news is that Disney, I don't have a lot of details here, but I just have the rough basic of it. Disney has officially announced that they are cancelling, or have cancelled, pre-production on Tron 3. There was nothing confirmed that the film was definitely going to happen, but they had started working on it. They started putting plans out, and it was expected that both Olivia Wilde and Garrett Hedlund, another name I'm struggling with, were expected to return from their roles in Tron Legacy, which was directed in 2010 by director Joseph Kosinski, who was also expected to return. I think this has been one of the biggest sort of moments of contention that I've seen over the weekend online as it was announced, and people are quite annoyed at this because there's a lot of fans out there who were really looking forward to it, and there's been a lot of suggestion, and I've sort of said it as well. I believe it might be down to the possibly slightly underwhelming and disappointing performance of Tomorrowland at the cinema. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well. That's the supposed reason why it's been cancelled, because of Tomorrowland. I think that Tomorrowland was released at the wrong time. It just didn't feel like a movie to, in a way, kickstart the summer section of the summer blockbusters, because it begins really early now. But the summer months, because it is June the 1st, and you wouldn't think that it is the first year of summer properly, considering the weather that we've got at the moment in the UK. But it's a movie that I think would have been better if it was released maybe midsummer to going into autumn. I think it would have suited that area there. And I think Disney have a problem with scheduling their films. I don't think they're clued up on when to release movies. You look at John Carter, even though it was a car crash of a movie, I think it would have been better if it was released at a better time. And so trying to blame a movie because of the fact that Tron 3 is not getting released is a bit of a cop-out.
I don't think it's been officially confirmed that, but that's what everyone has sort of decided and thinks it is. But the thing is, the thing it made me think of the fact is that there's been films that have been released that have been done in 3D and films that have been released that haven't been done in 3D, and yet it seems they're making the decision on which to do and which not to do the wrong way as well. I think there's lots of films, and I think Tomorrowland is one of those films actually that should have been released in 3D. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference, probably not, but it's one of those things that stands out to me. Tomorrowland was just released in 2D, never done in 3D, and then there's other films that came out that were released in 3D, and there was no point to them, nothing visual about them that made it really worth it. So I think the whole thing of 3D may have had a part of it as well, because Disney generally does everything that they do in 3D. So they didn't do Tomorrowland in 3D. Does that mean that they didn't want to spend any more money on it once it got to a certain point? They just decided that's it, we'll just release it.
No, I think Tomorrowland's got more problems than just the 3D thing. I don't think it's got anything to do with 3D. It's just, I personally think it's when it was released and the slightly clunky script, to be honest, with Tomorrowland. And they were worried about how another Tron film would perform, because how well did the last Tron film do? What was its box office?
I think
like?
Its box office around the world was about just under $400 to $500 million worldwide, which is a lot. But then when you think about it, apparently it cost over $100 million to make, and then on top of that you've got all the advertising and distribution things and stuff. So, but I do think they're missing out on, because Tron is a big thing. It's a big visual look as well. They've got all these rides and everything like that, which they did and everything as well at the time, I'm sure. Which, you know, it is a big draw for the fans. So
yeah, I'm just checking.
I think they're missing a step out there.
I'm just checking the overall US gross of Tron Legacy, and it took $172 million. And its theatrical run in the United States. That's just $2 million more than the budget. But you look at the budget, you need to at least double that because of advertising costs and all the promotional stuff as well. So the budget would have been around about $350 million.
I also think as well, wasn't it released around about Christmas, which is maybe not the best time to have released it?
December, yeah.
If they'd released it a bit earlier, knowing what they do with toy lines and stuff like that, they would have made a lot more off it merchandising wise if they released it earlier to get it out in time before Christmas, so that people then were buying the merchandise for toys and such for Christmas.
Yeah, Tomorrowland had a better UK opening than Tron Legacy did. But again, it's just down to Disney and them releasing their films. They just don't know, have a clue when to release movies like this and what area, what part of the year to release them.
Okay, what news have you got?
In an interview with Bad Taste, Jurassic World director Colin Trevorrow said he will not return to direct the sequel. He, in his interview, he did say Jurassic Park is like Star Wars. Different directors can give a different taste to each movie.
I can see where he's coming from, though I'm surprised if he's stepping down for that. I think there may be more. Maybe he's had enough of doing the effects and everything that comes with doing a big film like that. Maybe he just wants to do something that's going to be small and less hassle.
Yeah, because his first film was a small film, wasn't it?
I forgot what his first one was now.
Welcome to Tomorrow, something stupid like that. Anyway, titled wise, but yeah, he got the gig with Jurassic World. But well done for him to see that he's not interested in directing a sequel. He just wants to do something else and give the sequel to somebody else to do, because it'll be a different story. Maybe, but early indications.
He seems to be the man to go to now after doing the Fast and Furious films and going around doing other things, and that kind of thing. And then he seems to be the person to go to for big franchise films that need a competent and experienced director.
Yeah, early indications are saying that it is actually really good, Jurassic World. So some critics have managed to see it, and I'm guessing they're under NDAs. But yeah, early indications are saying that it is really good. And it definitely deserves the name of Jurassic Park attached to it. So we'll see when we actually finally get to see it in a couple of weeks' time. More news, according to Variety, 20th Century Fox is planning to remake/reboot The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
See, I like this. Don't get me wrong, I like that they're doing League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because it is a very underrated film. But it's a film that I have issues with because of the fact that it got the director Stephen Norrington, who did the original one, to basically step down from making films because he had so many hassles and so many problems with not only the sets and problems with flooding in Prague at the time, but also with working with Sean Connery, who had other ideas and about the film that was being made, and also with the head of the studio, 20th Century Fox at the time. So I know there were so many problems that caused a great director, because the only other film we'd done before that was Blade. But Blade, what a film! Love that film, the visual way it's done, the style of it. And I think he would have been one of my favourite directors if he was still doing films. And it really is a bone with me of contention. I like the film. It did better in Europe than it did in America, where it flopped. In Europe, it did quite well. I would love for them to do a sequel, not reboot it. But they're going to reboot it because they won't get everyone back and they won't do it. But it's another one of these ones. It's like, well, they're remaking this at least. One thing about this, at least they're remaking films that didn't do well, rather than remaking films that did really well and have a big thing for them. But it's still a film that I have a place in my heart for it, and that annoys me that they're going to remake it.
I have a place in my rubbish bin for it.
Hang on a second. You do not like it?
No.
Okay. I think we may have some feedback from other people that we know, in particular on places like Following the Nerds, which may disagree with you on that.
Nope, I didn't like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I didn't like it. But yeah. Robert Rodriguez has announced that he is making a big screen version of animated TV series Johnny Quest.
Never seen it, never watched it.
It's Robert Rodriguez doing his kids things again, like he did with the Spy Kids series.
Oh, go back and do another Predators film.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say go back and do a fifth Spy Kids film. No, I had to see Spy Kids 4. No, thank you.
No, I mean, Predators is the only one he hasn't ruined yet. So, I mean, if you get into one... Because he ruined From Dusk Till Dawn, and he's ruined... he ruined Desperado as well. The only franchise he's dealt with now which he's got anything left to do is Predators. So go back and make another one of them and ruin that, because God knows it was almost killed with the Alien versus Predators franchise.
He did sort of ruin the Spy Kids franchise, because the first one was okay to watch. After that, it just become a bit of a, oh God, what the hell's happening here kind of thing. So he's tainted, Robert Rodriguez, even though the double bill of the Grindhouse things, I think his one was the better one of the two. Planet Terror and Death Proof. I prefer Planet Terror because it's all that gory zombie nastiness.
I agree with that, yeah. Because of the fact that Death Proof is abhorrently terrible. And the thing is, my other half likes it.
I thought it was boring. For a Tarantino movie, it's boring. And it's really difficult to say that about a Tarantino movie.
Actually, saying that, it is a really interesting film to analyse and break down and look at, to break down the whole thing of it, but it's an awful film to watch.
Yes, it is. It's been announced that as a part of the new expanded Transformers universe, Bumblebee will be getting his own movie.
Okay.
This is going to be like Annabelle.
This is going to be like the whole Spider-Man being split up with the spin-offs and everything that Sony were going to do and they're not doing anymore. I mean, we were going to get the Aunt May spin-off movie. Come on.
No, it's going to be like Annabelle, the spin-off from The Conjuring. Like they decided to make. There is still a Conjuring 2 coming out, and there is supposedly another 2 more spin-offs from The Conjuring. The first Conjuring 2 appears somewhere, and Annabelle was the first one, and so that's exactly what they're doing with the Transformers universe, and Bumblebee's going to be the first one. He's okay as a background character or just a character there in the series, not as a standalone film.
Is it going to be a silent movie?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Because he can't talk. The character can't talk.
Saoirse Ronan and Dakota Fanning has joined the cast of J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts. More J.K. Rowling stuff.
Yeah.
The Green Inferno, which I'm really looking forward to, Eli Roth's new cannibal movie, very much like Cannibal Holocaust, has finally been given a release date. It was originally going to be released last year, and now it is coming out on September the 25th, thanks to Blumhouse Productions.
Not my kind of thing, but I suppose you're really ecstatic about this. From the sounds of it, you are.
Yes, because what's even better is that's my birthday. Yeah, my birthday is September the 25th, so on my birthday I will be going to see a cannibal movie. Lovely, perfect for me.
Are you going to go out? You're going to go out for a meal as well?
Why not? A nice big steak. 2 other pieces of news. One, I'm going to end off on a sad piece of news, but this is sort of sad because it's annoying why they decided to go with her again. But Adele is to sing the Spectre theme tune.
What?
Yes.
No. Just, I mean, as much as I can see why they're doing that, Adele is not Shirley Bassey.
Skyfall was one of the most mundane, boring theme tunes to a Bond film. As you know, I hated it. I'm not a fan of Bond films, but the theme tunes have that pop and pizzazz to them. They have interest to them. This one was just her moping and moaning for 3.5-4 minutes, which she does brilliantly because she is such a moaner anyway. Her music is like cat's claws on a chalkboard. The theme tune was just so bad, it didn't fit the film at all. And I was hoping that they might have looked at maybe like Muse or something like that, go back to the rock kind of thing. But now they're going, nope, let's stick with boring Snowfest Adele.
No, it was better than the one for Skyfall was better than Madonna's absolutely atrocious one for Die Another Day. That was awful. And it was almost as bad as the one from Jack White and Alicia. I think it's Alicia Keys. Jack White and Alicia Keys that did Quantum of Solace. But the less said about that, a film altogether and better. But I really, really like Chris Cornell's one of Casino Royale, which was done as what they normally do. They get the composer of the film to actually work with them on the music, so that they use the themes from the film in the music, and it ties in. I actually really, really love what he did with that. He worked with David Arnold on it, and I mean it's going to be Thomas Newman doing it now because it's Sam Mendes again. Thomas Newman is his go-to composer, and I'm all for that because what Thomas Newman did for Skyfall was a great piece of music throughout the film. Didn't really use the Bond theme so much, but it was a great music for the film, and I disagree that they shouldn't use her again. Or if they're going to use her, maybe wait and use her on the next one. Don't use her on the one straight afterwards again. Have someone different. Do something different. Don't just repeat. It's the whole thing of them trying to repeat it because Skyfall was such a big thing. They want to do the big thing again. But what they'll do is just make it mundane because it will just be the same. And that's what's boring and makes films flop.
No, what's boring is the fact that Adele has not released a single since she did the theme tune to Skyfall. That was the last time she made any music whatsoever. And what makes you think that she's going to come back and sort of like reproduce what she supposedly did back in 2013? Honestly, there are a few artists which a lot of people really like in this country, and I just cannot stand them. Her and Sam Smith are 2 people I would love to look on a desert island, just leave them abandoned there so they could make no more music. They are really bad artists, and they seem to go for that kind of stuff. So, no. Ending off on some sad news, actress Betsy Palmer has died at the age of 88. Betsy Palmer was well known for playing Jason Voorhees' mother in the first and second Friday the 13th films. I don't remember what she passed away from, but at the age of 88, that's a very good innings for her. And I solely remember the twist at the end of Friday the 13th, and people are always mistaken the fact that they think it is Jason Voorhees who's the killer in the first one, when you go, no, it's his mother who was the killer in the first one. So she was really creepy. She had that malevolent look to her. She had the nightmarish Mother's Day look on her face when she was killing the people at Camp Crystal Lake for what they did to her son. And I thought she was fantastic in the film. So horror is losing an icon like her.
I can understand that. I mean, it's not a film that I've really watched. I've seen bits of it, but I didn't really see it, and I've not been into it because it's horror. Not my genre. But in that whole thing, you've just managed to then spoil that film, and not only that, but also the opening of a part of Scream.
So what? The film was released in the very, very early 80s, so if we can't spoil a movie that was released in the early 80s, then nothing can be spoiled.
Well, if the studios are to believe, people won't remember that, though.
Are you going to lambast me for spoiling the 1924 Nosferatu, then, if that's the case? Or the fact that in the early 19th century, when the Lumiere brothers did Train Pulling Into Station, that was a film, by the way. That wasn't a real train. Spoiler.
It wasn't a real train?
No.
But it was a train.
Yeah.
Box office top 10, starting at number 10 with 2 by 2.
Yeah, it's disappearing from the chart quite quickly. It is one of those animated films which is a joint venture between 4 or 5 different countries, a very mundane joint venture.
Number 9 is a new entry for Tanu Weds Manu Returns.
It's a Bollywood film centres around a couple who got married in the first one, hence the Tanu Weds Manu thing. They drift apart in the second one, and he decides to hunt her down, track her down, go back to India to see what she's doing. It supposedly throws in a lot of comedy, like some of these Bollywood movies does, and big massive musical numbers, and it's overly too long as well, and it has a really convoluted plot, and it sounds like a snowfest to me.
Still hanging in there at number 8 is Home.
Yeah, 10 weeks. 10 weeks it's been in the UK box office top 10, and its worldwide takings, I would have thought it would have been higher than this, is 360 million. That's its worldwide.
Fast and Furious 7, which did really, really well, but this week is gone from the chart.
Yeah, and gone from the global box office top 10 as well.
Number 7 is Far From the Madding Crowd, which I know you haven't seen.
Nope.
It's a drama that I really liked. I thought it was really well done. I haven't seen any of the previous versions of it, but I thought it was great acting from Matthias Schoenaerts and Carey Mulligan. Very well directed, and I found it really engrossing. Also, a film you haven't seen at number 6, Spooks the Greater Good, which I liked. I'm a fan of the TV series. I watched all of that through its 10-year run. I enjoyed this. I thought it was well done, but it doesn't quite make the leap from TV to cinema screen. But not that that's a bad thing, because it's a good thing. It's okay. It left me a little bit wanting more. So I enjoyed it. If you like the series, you'll love it. If you never seen the series, then you may still find you get into it, because it is one that's made for everyone to be able to watch. You don't have to watch the show. And number 5 is The Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it still sits high at the top of the charts at the worldwide box office. It's now took past 1.2 billion. I think it's gonna find a bit of difficulty to try and get past the first Avengers. As I said, it was predicted that it was going to smash the first Avengers takings. It'll probably go past it. The first Avengers sits around about 1.4 billion, 1.5 billion. But it's not going to get to the 2 billion where people were expecting it to be. And so if that's the case, then I know that Star Wars is not going to do 2 billion at the worldwide box office by the end of the year, because it only has something like 14 days to do that. And that's too much of an ask, because if it does that, it's the highest grossing film of all time. No matter how many Star Wars fans are on this planet, it's not going to do that. So I don't think we are going to see a $2 billion worldwide box office movie this year. But Avengers Age of Ultron is a bit of a damp squib for Joss Whedon to leave the Avengers franchise on. It's still really good. It has its moments. It's just not something you would expect from the brilliance of Whedon.
I think it's maybe going to struggle to get even to the $1.5 billion, I think, because of the fact of that coming up now pretty much in succession. The next few weeks we've got Jurassic World, we've got a new Terminator film, we've got a new Mission Impossible film, and they're going to draw a lot of the attention of people from films like The Avengers, which has been out now for, what's it been, a month?
In this country, Avengers Age of Ultron has been out for 5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah. At number 4, new entry for Poltergeist.
Which is a bit of a lazy reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. It just decides to take the premise of the brilliant 1982 version and bring it into the 21st century using modern day technology, including drones and things like that, to make a horror film that's a 15, but it should have been a 12-year. Very little blood in the movie at all. Very little in the way that you would expect to see in a 15 rated film, apart from a couple of scenes which probably could have easily just been trimmed back a little bit and you would have easily gotten the 12 year. As a matter of fact, movies like The Woman in Black are much more scarier than Poltergeist, and Poltergeist you would probably have thought would have been on the scarier front, and it just doesn't do that. And so I'm a huge fan of the original Poltergeist, not so this.
Seems to be a lot of the time it's because of the fact that it's more to do with what your mind makes up when you're not shown anything. As soon as you see it, not scary anymore.
I sort of like judge a movie on its own merits. One of the best things to do to actually do that, rather than if it is a remake, rather than judge it on the original version of the film itself. You can't help but do that. It will always be in your mind when you watch the movie, going, "I wonder how they're going to tackle this scene. I wonder how they're going to manage to do this scene." But you should judge it on its own merits. And if you do that with Poltergeist, the remake, it doesn't work at all. It just doesn't have that scare factor that a lot of people want when they go to the cinema. And if you judge it as a remake, it fails because of the fact that it doesn't have the feel of the original.
Okay, making a new entry at number 3, not as well as it did in America, it went to number 1. Tomorrowland, A World Beyond.
Yeah, but even that's not much to actually gloat about, because looking at the worldwide box office, I have the list, the worldwide box office, surprisingly. I'm going to have that every single week. But it went in at number 3 with only a $60.5 million at the worldwide box office in 66 territories. So it hasn't done well at all. I will be surprised if this gets back its budget. And it's not down to the fact that the film is bad, because it's not bad. It's got touches of Brad Bird's brilliance in it. It's just, as Andrew said last week in his review of it, the script is lacking. It just doesn't have the pop that you would expect a Brad Bird film to have. So it has its moments. It's just let down by some lazy writing.
Yep. The top 2 now. We're at number 2 with Mad Max Fury Road.
Loved it. It's just an awesome film. It is the kind of popcorn movie that I wanted to watch, and I'm so glad that it exists.
It's amazing as well how, given it's a film that really doesn't have much of a plot or much of a story to it, yet still it's doing so well, and everyone is absolutely loving it because of the fact of it is just a crazy ride from start to finish.
Yep.
So that means the number 1 movie is Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah, it's just a lazy sequel. It takes the premise of Fat Amy and gives her practically centre stage in this one, and her character's fine as a background character or doing sarcastic quips every now and again. She's not good as sort of like one of the main characters because it just becomes really annoying. You throw in stereotypical Germans as well, and you just have a very lazy movie. At the start of the film, you think, oh, it's going to follow on very well from the first Pitch Perfect, and that's when you sort of like build up your hopes more, and then it just has a big hour gap where it's just nothing happens at all until it realizes it needs to have the competition at the end of it, and it rushes it, and so it just doesn't have the heart and it doesn't have the humor of the original, of the first one.
Okay, so that's the UK box office top 10. Let's go on to this week's first films. We've got plenty to get through, and it is Danny Collins, the movie written and directed by Dan Fogelman. It stars Al Pacino as Danny Collins, who we're introduced to as a younger actor, plays him as a young person when he's being interviewed at the very start of the film. He has just basically hit it big in the music world, music industry. Everyone's sort of raving about him. He doesn't quite know what's going to happen, but he's at an interview with a guy who says to him, "You're going to be the next biggest thing. You're amazing. You know, everyone's going to love you." He then is sort of still taken aback by this. Cut to present day. You have the now aged Danny Collins is doing sort of a sellout tour. He's there where he's basically on stage doing songs that are he's doing, you know, his best hits sort of thing. He hasn't done any new material or anything. He hasn't done any, the songs really are his anymore. After his first album, he just wrote songs and then everyone else sort of gave him material to use since. And he finds himself, after having done the performance, a little bit sort of worn out, burnt out, and wondering what he's going to do. Comes home to a surprise party at his house with his much younger girlfriend and his agent, who is there to give him a talk and try and sort of convince him he still needs to do this tour. Here's a clip.
He wrote you a letter. What the hell are you talking about? John Lennon wrote you a letter, pal, in 1971. He sent it to you care of this Deloach guy. Now, Deloach smells money, so he holds on to it. Never tells you. Then Deloach dies. But he's not the point. The point is, he sold that letter to a collector.
That's his agent, played by Christopher Plummer, who's telling him about this letter he's got him for a birthday present, hands it over to him, and he reads this letter, and it's an inspirational thing that John Lennon wrote back in 1970, when he became big and everything, but he never got it. It had John Lennon's phone number on it, and it's all sort of then turned back to him, the whole fact of that it kind of wakes him up into realising, what am I doing? This is rubbish, the music I'm doing now isn't mine, and so he kind of has this sort of a midlife crisis that's going on. And this is the thing about it. You do find out in the end credits of the film, this is actually based on a true story, a true thing that actually happened. John Lennon did write a letter to someone. I don't remember who it is. I don't recognise who it was. I'm not the best at knowing musical talent, but it's a singer somewhere who did strike it big, got a letter from John Lennon, but never got it until years later, and found out, you know, that he had been contacted, and begins to question, you know, if I'd got that letter at that time, if I'd phoned John Lennon, I'd spoke to him and done all this and everything, you know, how would my life have turned out different? How would my life have been different? And the thing is, you've got there in the story, Danny Collins goes back to New Jersey, where it turns out he has a grown-aged son who he's not seen. It turns out that he has a granddaughter as well, and a daughter-in-law played by Jennifer Garner. His son is played by Bobby Cannavale, and it's a whole thing of that he's trying to reconnect with that, while also dealing with this whole thing of that kind of midlife crisis of deciding to want to start writing music again. So he seals himself off in a hotel, where he also then bumps into a woman, a manager of the hotel, played by Annette Bening, and he starts to try and sort of woo her over as well. So it's all about him having this midlife crisis and deciding, you know, I want a different life, I want a better life, because it's the life I might have had if it had taken different directions. And the thing is, it's actually a really well done, really interesting, good character piece about this, because of the fact of that at the centre of it you have got Al Pacino's performance, and the thing is, he's kind of channeling. You've got, you know, sort of Rod Stewart. You have in there a little bit of I can't think of names now of David. I can't think of names. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting names, but he's channeling sort of, you know, these several that are aged artists that there are nowadays, the sort of the male solo artists who are out there singing and doing well, but they're not really doing anything. They're just reciting the same thing again and again and again. He's really good at it, but also he's surrounded by great performances from the cast around him. Annette Bening is fantastic in it. Jennifer Garner's really good in it, and in particular, Bobby Cannavale is fantastic in it as his son, who is angry and everything about it. And you've got Christopher Plummer there. Christopher Plummer's there a lot of the time for adding a little bit of humour, but it's one of these films where it's been sort of advertised as being a lot more humorous and a lot more humour than it is drama. It's actually more drama with little bits of humour in it, and I like it. I really, really like it. I think it's really nicely done. I think it's sweet without being schmaltzy. I think that it has some really great performances in there that really, you'll find somewhere in this there'll be a character or something in a character that will make you connect with it, and you'll start to wonder these things, and you'll start to see this, and you'll think these are people, these are real people. They're not just actors on the screen, and I really am surprised that I liked it as much as I did.
It has surprised me about how much critics have seemed to have liked this film, because it just seems when you watch the trailer, it looks like one of those sort of like car crash movies in a way. It doesn't. You don't think that this could be an interesting film, especially over the last few years. Al Pacino has sort of like got himself into a comfortable area where he's just doing movies where he can coast by, because he's not of the age now where he can do the stuff that he used to do 10, 15, 20 years ago. So he realises he has to reel himself back a little bit. And so to me, the film gives off a more like sort of like comfy slippers kind of vibe to it. Does it suit the big screen in that instance? Because those kind of films don't normally.
It does. I mean, it could work on a small screen as well, but it manages to be comfortable on the big screen. It has, incidentally, I was trying to think of a name. David Bowie is who I was trying to think of, a similar kind of artist, and I found that I got into it without any problem. It went along flowingly. The pacing on it was great, and it is a film that you are comfortable with. There's never anything in it that makes you uncomfortable. It doesn't have gross out moments. It has quite emotional moments to do with family and to do with issues with the family, and the whole thing of that they've got this daughter who has ADHD, so they're sort of dealing with that as well. And it's a sweet drama that's just it's a bit light-hearted, but at times it can be quite heavy as well. So I mean, it's a very well done drama.
Okay, then let's go to the complete opposite scale of things then. Yeah, from one drama to one big massive explosion in the form of San Andreas, directed by Brad Payton, who did Journey to the Mysterious Island. Yeah, okay. When you play the clip for Danny Collins, we have a countdown. And so Andy says it's a short clip, it lasts about 20 seconds, and then that's when obviously you mute his mic and explain the rest of the film. You could sort of sum up San Andreas on a napkin and it would last about 20 seconds. It follows Dwayne Johnson's character. He's a pilot, a rescue pilot of sorts, and the San Andreas fault is about to sort of like not erupt but just unleash its big massive terror upon San Francisco and cause mayhem. And so embroiled in this is his daughter. She's gone off with his ex-wife's new boyfriend to a meeting with her, and she gets caught in it, so he needs to cross the country to try and find his daughter with the help of his ex-wife. And obviously you've got big massive buildings crumbling down and tsunamis and all that kind of thing that you would expect in a disaster film. Here's a clip.
Hello, Chris. I'm here with Dr. Lawrence Hayes, Executive Director for Earthquake Studies at Caltech. He and his research partner, Dr. Kim Park, have come up with a model that predicts earthquakes. They knew LA was going to get hit, but nobody listened to them. It's time now to listen. Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, in seismology terms, what we're experiencing is what we call a swarm event. Basically, California's entire tectonic plate is shifted. People need to know that the shaking is not over. And it's not aftershocks I'm talking about. San Francisco will get hit again, and it's going to be a bigger monster this time. Our models are predicting a 9.5 or greater. It will be so big that even though it's happening here in California, you will feel it on the East Coast.
And so you've also got a character who's played by Paul Giamatti. He's the sort of like the scientist. He's the brains of the operation about what's happening. He's the person who needs to try and inform people who live in or along the San Andreas Fault or in the area about where all the devastation is going to happen, to try and get out there. That's his job. There's a scene very early on in the film where he's at the Hoover Dam, and that's when you start to see the big destruction. Now, the film opens up with an okay enough scene. You've got Dwayne Johnson, like I said, he's a rescue pilot, and he's rescuing somebody from a car which has managed to get trapped in a ravine area. And so it starts off okay, and you can then start to predict what's going to happen. And The film itself, even though it's got sort of like decent special effects, it's that kind of film where in about 10 years' time it'll not age very well at all. And so the special effects are decent. It's just really boring. It's mind-numbingly boring because the problem with disaster films is they try to interleave a drama element in with the disaster part. And they get it wrong because the drama element is never strong enough to go alongside the disaster part to tell the story. When people go in to see a disaster movie, they want to see big explosions and big things happening, so that's what you get. But you also need some way of being able to stitch those kind of things together. And so with most disaster films, they feel that. The last movie that I can think myself where the drama sort of worked because it had decent characters and good conversations between the characters was Twister. And then you need to go all the way back to movies from the 50s and 60s and 70s to things like Earthquake or the Towering Inferno or the Poseidon Adventure to get the best, the highest quality of those things. And yeah, they might not have aged as well now, but they still hold up brilliantly because you believe in the plight of the characters. You want the characters to survive, and it is all about them in more closed-in areas when the disaster is happening around it. Whereas movies these days, disaster movies, are more concentrating on the big special effects to hold the attention span of the audience. And for me, it was just those set pieces one after another, and they were boring. There was a decent few spectacles here and there, but they were boring for the most part of it. And when you also throw in stereotypical characters in the form of a love interest with a very strong British accent, who's played by an Australian guy, and you've also got
Ewan Griffith.
No, not Ewan Griffith. Hugo Johnson Burt.
Oh yes, okay. Sorry.
Who's the love interest of Dwayne Johnson's daughter in the film, who's played by Alessandra Daddario. He's got a strong British accent, and he's from Australia. You've also got Ewan Griffin there. They need the sort of like lecherous bad guy in a way, and he's not very much a lecherous bad guy. He just does one thing which is quite questionable, and that's about it. And you can probably guess what's going to follow on from there. And even one of the big interesting set pieces where they decide to get a boat and ride it up a huge massive tsunami wave, it just, you watch it and go, yep, I don't think that would actually happen. You would get drowned as soon as you would do that. It just, the film itself was just boring.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I'm similar vein of thought as you. I didn't think it was as boring as I think you did, but it didn't get the heart pumping as it wanted to, and it has these moments in it which are just there were parts I heard people in the audience laughing out loud at just how ridiculous some of the bits were and stuff. I did have a couple moments in it that I was like, oh, impressed by that shot, but other than that, there was nothing in it that really held. And it really stood out any better. You've got the typical characters and the typical character types. You've got the whole thing of the family unit that isn't a family, but oh, guess what? They're going to be a family, And you have the whole thing of this whole thing. The spectacle of it is kind of diminished, really, because it doesn't bring anything new to it. I'm going to actually say what it is. There's one shot in it which I really, really loved, a visual effects shot I was really impressed with, and that's a shot on the roof when Carla Gugino's characters get into the roof so she can be met by her ex-husband in the helicopter, and the floor collapses under her, and it's the camera shot that stays. The camera basically follows with the floor. But it's a really nice shot of that it falls and she falls with it, and then she's obviously got that weightless moment for a second, then another one as the floors collapse underneath her. And I was like, wow, I like that. Rest of the film, not so much.
Yeah, you've got even a cameo from Kylie Minogue.
Yeah. I actually think... Did you not actually go for it? He's like, is that Kylie Minogue?
Yeah, it's unmistakable. What I also find really interesting is the fact that they just said to Kylie Minogue, it's fine for you to do an Australian impression and to do your own voice, considering that your brother is supposedly from Wales. You're meant to believe that Ewan Griffith's character and Kylie Minogue's a brother and sister, and then you do have that stupid thing where they have got an Australian actor to do an English accent to play an English character, and it's a very scratching head, questionable kind of film, and you can see why, considering that the director did Journey to the Mysterious Island. And that's a slightly better film, to be honest.
Okay, moving on to Man Up. It's directed by Ben Palmer. It is the film that has Simon Pegg as Jack and Lake Bell as Nancy. Nancy being the main character we're introduced to at the start of the film. She is basically living a life where she is single but kind of wants to find someone but isn't really sort of willing to put herself out there. Her sister is sort of forcing her to follow this mantra of do this, do this, do this and everything. She eventually ends up on a train travelling into London. She's ends up on the train bumping into this girl Jessica on the train, played by Ophelia Lovibond, who starts talking with her about this book she's got, and it's a book about one of these self-help guru books sort of things, and she's got it there as a signal to this man she's going to meet, who is a blind date she's been set up with. She sort of ends up giving this to Nancy when Nancy falls asleep and wakes up with it on the train when they arrive. She runs after her trying to give it back to Jessica because she doesn't really want it, but ends up actually bumping into her date Jack, believe it or not, played by Simon Pegg. Here's a clip.
Hey, what a great way for us to recognise each other. What a great idea. Although I think it would have been pretty hard to miss you underneath that huge clock.
No.
What do we do in terms of saying hello? I've never known. I'm not what to picture. Is it a handshake or is it a hug? I mean, is it formal? You know what? We're adults. Let's just go in. Oh, too soon for that. Nope. Hello there. So, oh my God, that's not your emergency exit phone call already, is it? Because I haven't had a chance to use any of my best lines yet. That wasn't one of them. If you were worried, I tell you what. Listen, I'll handle this, madam. Hello, caller. Yes, we have met, and I am not a complete psychopath, and we've really hit it off. And she will call you later with all the gory details. So thank you for calling, and goodbye. Done. All right. So book check, and clock check, and blind date check. So usually when, in this situation, I would say something and then maybe you'd say something back, and then we talk a little bit about what we're going to do and exchange ideas, sort of quid pro quo, Clarice. In hindsight, that wasn't the best impression to do on a first date, because it brings to mind... Anyway, listen, I'm talking a lot, and I know you can sense it, so I'm going to just keep going with it, and I'm going to start the bidding with a drink on London's fashionable South Bank. As the book says, what are you waiting for?
I am waiting for you.
Good.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, there in that clip, you didn't really hear it that much, but Lake Bell doing a English accent for this. She is American, but doing an English accent throughout the whole film, and doing it very convincingly, sort of tying in with what we were talking about, actors being cast and playing different accents from in San Andreas. Here's the thing with this. She ends up sort of pretending to be Jessica. They go on a date, and then it goes from there. And I'm not going to go into it any more than that because I don't want to. Because the thing is, I really, really enjoyed this. Surprisingly, my second film of the week, and I really, really, really enjoyed this. I had so much fun with it. It's funny, it's witty, the characters are realistic. It's got these moments where they're doing things and it's stupid, but you kind of go, okay, I can buy why they're in this situation and doing this, and you go with it. And it never quite reaches the heights of some of the films you get where there's too much gross out humour, there's too much, oh well, this is just convenient that that's all happening, and it's quite believable that they get to the situations that they do. And it gets a little bit more ridiculous towards the end, but it has characters in it that are fun. There are these other characters as well that are introduced along the way, one of which is very intent on being the comic humour and the gross out humour, but it never goes too far. And it's surprising just how much of a funny, a witty, enjoyable, great rom-com this is. And it is a rom-com, but it's not your typical rom-com. It's a fun one. It's great, and it's also not only I don't think it'll be good for women, I think it'll be good for men as well. I think guys will love this as well. Anyone who's a Simon Pegg fan, I think they'll enjoy it. And it's really, really surprising how much I did not expect this at all. I really didn't, and I had fun with it.
Is it better than a lot of the Simon Pegg stuff that he has been doing as of late?
It's not Simon Pegg working with...
No, I'm not talking
Edgar
about like
Wright,
the Nick
sort of
Frost stuff and Edgar Wright. I'm more talking about things like How to Lose Friends and Alienate People and all that kind of stuff.
it's much better than that, because I mean, you had the films that he'd done really recently. You had, as you said, How to Lose Friends and Alien People, Hector and the Search for Happiness. You had what was the other one he did as well? He did like Run Fat Boy Run, things like that.
Yeah,
that are these kind of, they're not necessarily romantic comedies, but they're comedies. They're drama comedies. And this is kind of drama comedy, but it's got this rom-com aspect thrown in there as well, and it handles it beautifully and does it fantastically. And it's a film that I'm actually going to say it now. It is my film of the week.
See, because
yeah,
the thing what I didn't like about Hector and the Search for Happiness was the fact that it's a very manipulative movie, and I found the film very boring as well. But by the sounds of it, from what you've said, this is probably Simon Pegg at his best, because if you look at the stuff that he's done away from the Nick Frost and Edgar Wright stuff, he seems to be struggling a little bit. He only, I think, found his feet a lot more so in Star Trek, and with him writing the third Star Trek film, and he'll be appearing in that in some way, shape or form. He just didn't seem to find his feet in the romantic comedies that he was attempting, but this sounds like he has now finally found the right one.
Yeah, I mean, it's more that it's Lake Bell's film. Lake Bell is the one that's actually I will not happily go and see anything that Lake Bell is in, because the last thing I remember, she did that In a World, which she also, I think, directed as well. And she's a talent that she loves doing these sort of little indie projects. I don't think she really goes for anything big to try and get sort of a big film made on. I think she goes to these indie ones that are something that there's more, you can put your heart into them. And you can get more into them in that respect. And she's done the same here, and she's really, really good in it as well. I mean, it is she's the main character that we introduced. Simon Pegg's character is in it for a lot as well, but he's not the main character. She is, and it is a really good, fun movie.
Okay, then, and the next one is definitely not that. Search Party from director Scott Armstrong, who was involved with the Hangover series. You can probably guess where this is going, and it pretty much follows the Hangover, the blueprint for the Hangover films. It centres around a couple of friends, three in this case. One of them is about to get married. A secret is revealed just before the wedding while the wedding is in full swing, and just before it's about to end, and you can now kiss the bride, is said. And so the bride ends up running off to Mexico. The groom-to-be decides to chase her down, and the two friends have to find out where he is, because he rings them from Mexico saying that he is naked and he needs their help. Obviously, you've got the humour, slapstick stuff incurs, which involves Adam Pally's character, who plays Evan. He's about to get a promotion at work, but he's stolen a friend who he's actually living with, who's played by Thomas Middleditch. He's sort of like... Yeah, he brings him down a lot, and like I said, hilarity supposedly ensues. There isn't a clip, and you sort of can guess why. The film itself is not very good at all. It's a comedy without the comedy. There's just no humour. It follows the same kind, like I said at the start of the review, of the blueprint of the Hangover series, specifically the first one, and it's not something you want to copy, because the Hangover trilogy is not very good at all. The first one might be watchable. After that, it just became intolerable to watch. This one, it's not intolerable to watch, and there are a couple of sort of gross-out jokes in it, not over-the-top gross-out gags in it, but it's just boring. There isn't anything funny to do with it at all. You would expect maybe a scene that involves drugging and kidneys being extracted from somebody might be a bit funny, or a few questionable scenes in Mexico might be funny, but overall, it just makes you think to yourself, well, that's 90 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back.
I mean, I have to agree. I mean, the thing is, well, the characters in it are really annoying, is an understatement, especially the best friend one in it, the one who basically makes the whole thing go belly up at the start. And it's honestly, there's nothing in it you want to. There's nothing redeeming. There's no characters in it you like. I mean, the thing is, you have a real problem when the funniest thing in the film is the sort of the weird. I mean, it even didn't get a laugh, but the funniest, weirdest thing in the film that stands out to me was this guy who is a talent sort of not like knife thrower, but a guy, one of these guys who's like does the shows and everything like that.
He shoots crossbows.
Yes, he shoots crossbows, and yet he can't manage to hit people with crossbows when he's actually up to the task of it. It's like, you know, he's an expert marksman with a crossbow, but he can't kill people when he wants to. It's just pitiful.
And when you've got there's a part which again stereotypical involves a drug cartel of some kind. When cartel in this case means 3 people, one of them can speak English, and then you've got the 2 dumb Mexicans. It's like watching a Speedy Gonzales cartoon. It's just the film itself is bad. It's just really bad. I wish I had a week where I saw a new film where it was good. The new films I've seen this week have been bad.
Maybe we'll have that next week. Okay, last film in the cinema release this week, La French, or as it's been called here, The Connection. It is a French film. It is based around the true events of the French Connection, as it's called, which is not just the title of the William Friedkin film, which was made based on the whole thing, the one with Gene Hackman and everything. That's all the thing of that. Basically, the only way that it connects to that film and that thing is because of the fact of that it's based on the real thing of that there was a whole thing about smuggling drugs around from France and the way it was done, which was what was called the French Connection. So the one with William Friedkin had all to do with sort of the American side of it. Doesn't have really any connection with this film. This film is all about sort of the French side of it, and the fact of the magistrate and the police in this film trying to figure that out and stop it from happening. The magistrate in this film played by Jean Dujardin, who plays Pierre Michel. And you have then on the other side of it the main sort of the villain of the piece, the one who is running all of the sort of the French mob that is doing all of the smuggling, is played by Gilles Lelouch. Lelouch.
Yeah, you actually pronounce it Gilles.
Well, he plays Gaetan Zampa.
Yes, why not?
And it's the thing of that it's one of these crime thrillers where it's a film that is a lot about the procedure, the corruption, the whole thing. It's quite timely with the release in the news to do with FIFA, but it's all about the sort of the political side of it more than it is anything about sort of an action thriller thing, which is why it's a bit of a shame, because it's a film. It's not a bad film, but honestly, I came out of it and I was like, I just wanted more. I don't know that I wanted it to be action all the time. I didn't want it to be action all the time. There's not really any action. There's at one point where there's a raid, someone runs from it and someone else runs after them and catches them very easily. And it's just it's kind of a thing of that it's disappointing that there's not any sort of oomph to it. There's no sort of bash to it. It's just very slow paced. It is all about performance, and the thing is, that's what stands out about it. Jean Dujardin is absolutely fantastic in it, and so is what's his name?
Gilles
Lelouch. He's fantastic as well. The two of them are brilliant, and it made me think back to not having the action of it, but it made me think back to Heat. To Michael Mann's Heat, we had Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, two absolute powerhouse actors playing these roles and doing everything they were doing them, and then they have one moment where they meet for 5 minutes in the film. That's basically what you have here, is these two actors that are doing great performance piece with their crew that they have and everything, and dealing with everything they have, and then they meet at one point in the middle. And it's a shame because it doesn't have that power to it. As I say, it just felt very underwhelming. Which is a shame because there is great performance in it. It needed something more, maybe a bit more speedy pace to it. I mean, it's 2 hours long. It did feel like a long film, but if you like Jean Dujardin and you like the acting of films, you like a good drama, then see it. If you're expecting it to be action, and I'm not saying I was, but there'll be people out there who will think, The Connection, see that it's to do with French, and they go, oh, it's French Connection. They'll maybe think it's a direct remake. It's not, and they'll be expecting action and car chases and stuff. They will not get it in this.
Oh well. I'm a big fan of Jean Dujardin. I think he's a really good actor.
Yeah, I mean, I guess pretty much that you would see it just based on him being in it and being all about acting, because he is really good in it.
Yeah, I think out of the two, out of Jean Dujardin and Benoît Bégou, I think she's had the better of the two. So I think she's been in a few more better critically acclaimed films compared to Jean Dujardin.
I think so as well. It's a shame, I mean, because the thing is that I think it's because he's gone more... He's doing more sort of the indie films than she is, I think, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, that's it for this week's cinema section. We're going to play an advert here, after which we'll go into this week's home releases. We'll be back in just a moment.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
Alright, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section where we've got quite a few films to look at, so we'll steamroll through them. We're looking at these ones.
We have Ex Machina. We have the Clint Eastwood directed American Sniper. We have Shaun the Sheep, the movie. A fantastic film, as we've already agreed, it's fantastic. Whiplash. We have a not so fantastic film in The Gambler. Lost River, which is Ryan Gosling. Yes, sorry. Ryan Gosling's directorial debut. And we have a small indie film made for only $5 million in Stretch.
And on top of that, TV Movie of the Week and Movie of the Week, but we'll kick things off with the Blu-ray and DVD Top 10. So at number 10 is The Imitation Game.
Yeah, I mean, what more can we say about this? We haven't said fantastic, great performances. Needs a little bit more, I think, but I think we agree it's up there with amongst the better films there have been recently.
Yeah, but number 9 is a new entry for Wild.
Wild is a really, really good drama centering around the character of played by Reese Witherspoon. But the thing that's really, really good about it is the way it handles memory and flashbacks and the way that it's done that. It's a really good drama. Some people may not find it up to their sort of expectations, but it's worth seeing for the performance and also for the way it does this clever thing of showing flashbacks that I really love about it.
And number 8 is Paddington.
Again, another one, what more can we say? Fantastic. If you don't like it, at least, there is definitely something wrong with you.
Yeah, and I liked it. So there's definitely something seriously wrong with you if you didn't like it. And number 7 is Pitch Perfect.
It's just in there because the second one's out in the cinema. The first one I really liked. I haven't seen the second one yet. You've seen it, but I understand this is better than the second one.
A lot better.
Yeah, but the thing is, again, it's a film that Stuart liked.
Yeah, the best way to put it, considering that if you look at critical, it's sort of like Sister Act and Sister Act 2. Because a lot of people who really like Sister Act didn't much like Sister Act 2. This is very much the same with Pitch Perfect. And so it's even though I actually have a soft spot for both Sister Act films because I love Whoopi Goldberg. But yeah, it's in this case with Pitch Perfect, that's not the case. But yeah, it's very much like that. Okay. At number 6 is Annie.
Completely pointless remake. Didn't need it. Didn't want it. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't anything it.
Yeah. I would have liked to say didn't watch it, but unfortunately I did. And number 5
didn't want to watch it. Didn't like it.
Didn't want to watch it. And number 5 is a new entry for Testament of Youth,
which is a good drama, well directed, well acted. Has some really good performance in there, especially from Alicia Vikander, who we'll get to in a minute as well, with something else.
Sorry, I just like Alicia Vikander, especially in the film that you're going to review first off. There is a lot of her in that movie.
I do think that the Testament of Youth is a little bit on the long side than it needs to be, and I think that it's a film that would have benefit, I think, from being done in a different way and have a different structure and flashbacks and stuff, but it's still a good film.
And you're seeing a film that's a little bit on the long side, considering that the movie at number 4 is The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah, okay, it's long, but it's an okay film. I like the Hobbit films. It's a long film. I like the Hobbit films. I don't love them like I love Lord of the Rings. This is the thing we keep saying. But I like the Hobbit films. I think they're good. This one I do think is there. It shows the whole thing of the. It's kind of like they got to the point where, okay, we've got to finish it. Let's just get it done, sort of thing. But it's perfectly fine if you watch the other films. You're going to watch this anyway.
All I'll say is the Hobbit trilogy, if you put it back to back to back, it's longer than the Golden Globes and the Oscars put together.
Okay.
And number 3 is The Theory of Everything.
This is the thing that you've got these two big British films with the British actor playing someone from the past. You had Imitation Game, which was at number 10, with Alan Turing being played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Here you have Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawking and showing his life. I think that this is the better performance out of the two films. I think the films are kind of on par with each other, but I do think this does it better because of Eddie Redmayne's performance required a lot more of him than I think Benedict Cumberbatch did. But the thing is, I have issues with this because it is telling the story that's been written by his wife and her book, and not necessarily from anything that he's written. So I enjoyed it. I do think, though, that it maybe doesn't tell things. There is this nagging thing to me about it, that it doesn't seem. It seems as if there maybe should be other things there.
And number 2 is Into the Woods.
Didn't like it at all. It's a musical. So first of all, a musical doesn't necessarily mean a good thing to me. But secondly, it's a musical that is terrible structured, ends before it should, and then goes on for another half hour, and then also has no memorable musical tunes in it at all. I cannot tell you a single piece of music. I cannot hum a theme from it. I cannot anything at any point that I thought, oh yeah, that's a really good piece, and it grabbed me at all. I was bored, hated it, didn't like it, and just I think a complete waste of material, money and talent.
Best thing about the thing is Meryl Streep, and she's not in the film at all.
The best thing about it is when it ended, and I mean properly ended, not just when it ended and you thought it had a half hour left.
Because you had to suffer through a 2-hour film before you got to the end, yet you only had to suffer through about 25 minutes of a film to get to Meryl Streep. So that's the best thing about the film, Meryl Streep, because she's in it in about 25-30 minutes. Then you can just switch it off. And number 1 is a new entry for Big Hero 6.
Yeah, which I liked more than you did, I think, because as the film goes on towards the end, it does go in the whole superhero thing, which I think you had an issue with. Yeah. But I think it's brilliant done. It's brilliantly executed with the animation. I think the story is quite heartwarming and very well done, well handled for it being sort of the subject early on in the film, especially if it's for obviously a kids' film. And I thought it was fun, loved it, and it is a Disney film that's up there with the great animations.
Yeah, I did like it. I've seen it 3 times now, so I must have liked it. I love the animation. The animation is really nice, especially San Francisco. Sorry, frog caught in my throat there. But yeah, San Francisco is beautifully realised, and there is some, especially there is a sequence which involves a hell of a lot of colour near to the end of the movie, and I thought that was beautifully done. I had the problem with the superhero stuff. It just felt like it was just stitched into the movie just to have a reason to be there, and it just didn't need to be there. But overall, it is a very entertaining kids film, considering the kind of kids movies that we've had this year. There is one kids movie coming up at the end of this month, which I am giddy like a little schoolgirl to see it, and it will probably be my best animated film of the year, even though I've got, sorry about this, another Studio Ghibli movie to watch. I know, a second mention. But Minions. I want the Minions now. End of the month. I'm already getting my ticket booked. Let's go on to a review. So I can just think about the Minions for a little while.
Yeah, okay then. Ex Machina. Or X, as you said, X_Machina. It is the first directed movie by Alex Garland, who also wrote the script. It's not based on any of his novels, it's actually a script that he wrote as well. It is a film which centres around Caleb, who is played by Donald Gleeson, who, as we're introduced to him at the start, he's a computer programmer at this company. The company has this sort of competition that he turns out as the winner. The prize is to go and be at his boss's sort of luxury kind of place out in the middle of nowhere for a week, where he then turns out he's there with his boss Nathan, played by Oscar Isaac, who has created something very amazing there, and has other reasons for why Caleb may have won, not necessarily won, but been chosen to win the competition. Here's a clip.
Do you know what the Turing test is?
Yeah. I know what the Turing test is. It's when a human interacts with a computer. And if the human doesn't know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
And what does a pass tell us?
That the computer has artificial intelligence. Are you building an AI?
I've already built one. And over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
Holy
Yeah, that's right, Caleb. You got it. Because if that test is passed, you are dead center of the greatest scientific event in the history of man.
If you've created a conscious machine, it's not the history of man. That's the history of gods.
So he is then asked to test this AI, Ava, which is played in the movie by Alicia Vikander.
Ah, Alicia Vikander.
I knew you would do something like that. And it's the whole thing of that he's questioning her and talking to her and finding out, is she really intelligent or is she just responding sort of through programming to things that he says, while also querying sort of the behaviour of Nathan, who doesn't quite necessarily seem particularly mentally stable, shall we say. There are some moments in this where it's got some real great sort of dramatic back and forths. There's also some really bizarre performances as well from Oscar Isaac, fantastic but bizarre. And it's a film that it's intelligent science fiction. It's raising these questions, it's asking them. It's not the whole thing of the, oh no, the robots are coming, the computers are going to kill us all. It's the whole thing of the, oh look, we've got, is a machine able to be like a person? Can a machine actually be considered to be alive? Is there such a thing as sort of a consciousness for a computer? And it's all sort of about that. But then the questions of, if that's true, then what does that potentially mean in the future and stuff? And it raises all these questions very cleverly, very subtly in some points, and leads to sort of a conclusion that doesn't necessarily sort of agree with what it asks, is a weird thing. But I think you possibly agree that's what it is that's very clever about it. And the thing that's very well done about it is the fact of that it's not predictable. It's a film that you end up, by the time of it, you go, and I guarantee you, when you're watching it, there will be at least a couple of moments where you go, okay, I did not see that coming, and you'll be surprised. And that's a very nice thing to have in a film, to have it be that you, especially when you watch as many films as we do, to come out of a film and go, you know what, I did not expect that.
I agree with you on that front. It's down to the way Alex Garland writes. He's a very intelligent writer. He adds different layers to his movies. He's sort of like the way Christopher Nolan directs. And so it would just be an interesting project if both of those two got together. If Christopher Nolan worked alongside Alex Garland and see what they would come up with, I think they would create the ultimate mind trip. But by the time you come out of the cinema, you'll instantly just turn around and go back in, because you might actually end up seeing a different film, because you'll end up finding new layers and new nuances with the movies. And so you can just imagine a mixture between Inception and Ex Machina. And he's showing that he can direct the stuff that he's wrote, and everybody plays their part in it. Domhnall Gleeson, he's sort of like the character who's going in it blind. He knows the guy who's played by Oscar Isaacs. He knows what he's going to expect, but he doesn't realise what he is fully going to expect, because he thinks that he's just there to be on holiday, yet he's going to be part of a Turing test, which harks back to The Imitation Game. And then you've got Alicia Vikander, who has to play the most non-human human character, and that's really difficult to do, to have a character to show emotion but not show emotions. And so that it's multi-layered, the film itself, and there are a few interesting creepy twists. There is one scene which involves Oscar Isaacs when he dances, and it is the most sort of like cringe-worthy dance that he does, but it's intentional, because it's sort of like him. It's him having cabin fever, because it is just him in this isolated area, which he's done it himself, and sort of like the first human contact that he has is with Domhnall Gleeson's character, and he's releasing all of this tension. And so you've got things like that. And the only part I didn't like was what Alex Garland has a problem with, and it's the ending of films. It's a movie that could have easily ended 20 minutes before it did, and I would have been completely 100% satisfied, because then it gives you a chance to build in your brain how you think it's going to finish, how it ends off, rather than it being shown to you. So it's not a fully intelligent science fiction film, because if it was, it would not have had that ending. And it's sort of like the problem that people had with Sunshine, which he wrote. The ending just felt a bit tacked on, even though I actually quite like the ending to Sunshine. I think Sunshine's a fantastic film. So without that last 20 minutes, this would have been a movie that would have easily gotten an 8, maybe it's very close to a 9. But because of that last 20 minutes, I think that's the part that lets it down slightly.
I think as well, it's interesting to maybe consider it because we were talking about how films can be manipulative earlier, and you don't like feeling manipulated. The thing is, it's a manipulative film, but not so much manipulating the audience as it does manipulate the characters, which then manipulates the audience. I think that's what's very clever about it, and I think it's down to, you're saying, Alex Garland having written this very well, but I think also the way that he films it, Alex Garland is also, he's definitely one to watch for a good director. Especially his first direction, and he does a really good job with it. Yeah, because you feel like you're going through the Turing test as well yourself. And that's an interesting thing for a film to do that, to think that you're going, to think that you're going through the tests that happen, and even though you can maybe try to predict what's going on, and that's probably what Domhnall Gleeson's character is doing. He's trying to predict himself and trying to second guess himself of what Alicia Vikander's character is actually trying to do as well, and what Eva is doing. So I love when movies do that, and you can just imagine a double bill of Inception and this. It just make you one hell of an intelligent person. You might as well take an IQ test by the end of it, and you'll be part of Mensa. I think it'd give you a headache.
A good headache rather than a work kind of headache. Next up then, American Sniper, directed by Clint Eastwood. It stars Bradley Cooper, and it centres around the life of Chris Kyle. Now, Chris Kyle was a Texan man who he wanted to have a very simple life. He wanted to be a cowboy, he wanted to have a wife. In this film, she's played by Sienna Miller, who plays, I can't remember his wife's name, so I didn't write his wife's name down. All I wrote down as a character is Kyle's wife. It's not very helpful, that, is it? But, yeah, he just wanted the normal life where he's got a wife, a couple of children, and he's living fine. However, he seems to not be good with the life, the cowboy life, and he discovers that he has a knack of being able to shoot really well, so he enlists himself in the army. And the film tells the story of Chris Kyle's life and how he went to Iraq on 3 different tours, and how the fact that when he comes back from Iraq after some of the decisions that he has to make, how it has affected his life. And here's a clip which gives you a feeling of what it was like for him.
Excuse me, sir.
See it? Purple?
Are you Chief Chris Kyle?
Yes, sir.
My name is Mads. We met in Fallujah. You saved my life.
I did?
Yes, sir. We were stuck in a house until you came in with 1st Marines. You were the one that carried me out.
How are you? You all right? You hold up?
Great. Yeah. I'm just grateful to be alive. Why don't you come down to the VA sometime? Guys will love it. They all know who the legend is.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Hey, buddy. Your dad, he's a hero. That's right. He saved my life, and he helped me get back to my little girl. So, thank you for lending him to us.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here without him. My family thanks you for your service.
Okay, thank you.
And so the film, I'm probably going to go over myself like I did when we reviewed this in the cinema, because I was reiterating my point with it, is the fact that it is a movie of 2 halves. It is a movie that centres around Kyle in Iraq and the tough, horrible decisions that he had to make in the sort of like blink of an eye, in the split second. It's not one of those ones where you can sort of like think for a couple of minutes or even for 30 seconds. It is a decision where you need to make it or on the spur of the moment, because it will affect whatever you do. And so it's a really difficult thing for that to be put on somebody's shoulders, on one person's shoulders. And then it's about his life when he comes back to America, and how the fact that his wife no longer wants him to be a part of the army because she can see at how it's actually affecting him. And so the movie itself works on the part where it is in Iraq. It is really tense. It's brilliantly shot by Clint Eastwood. It's brilliantly directed by Eastwood. It's brilliantly acted by Bradley Cooper. It's just when it gets back to America, I don't think Clint Eastwood knew how to handle the character, how to tell the story from that part. And it is that thing that I mentioned in the cinema section when I was reviewing San Andreas, when they're trying to stitch the drama together with the disaster. He's trying to stitch the drama together with the thing that's happening in Iraq. And it just doesn't work. It feels too slightly loose, and it just feels slightly disconnected from what you're feeling with the Iraq stuff. The film itself would not have worked if it was just all set in Iraq, and it was just 3 parts about him with 3 tours, because then it would have just been repetitive. It needs that, the drama elements set back into America. I don't think it needed 3 sections of that, and maybe 1, 2 at the most, but it needed some changing. It needed to be edited together more better than what it was. So from a film that could have been up there with things like Zero Dark 30 or The Hurt Locker, which it's trying to be like, not in tone with like The Hurt Locker, but it's trying to be very similar to those kind of films. It just then sort of like it falls back from that, and it becomes maybe 3/4 of what The Hurt Locker managed to achieve and what Zero Dark 30 managed to achieve.
I agree largely on that. I mean, it's a film that it's. I wouldn't say it's of 2 halves. I think it's a sort of 3/3. But the first 2/3 are the whole thing over in Iraq and everything, and then the remaining third is the stuff at home. And I think that there should have been, as you say, more of the home stuff. I think it actually should have been 2 halves. I think it should have been a lot more stuff about home that showed the problems of him. I think it should have been done actually to show to maybe even kind of show the effect of PTSD from the person's perspective of, they hear something and they panic, that that war training and everything is triggered and takes over because of the fact that it's just the way they become. And I do miss that it doesn't have that. I feel it is lacking that emotional hit to it of this is what war does to people. This is how it makes them, and how when they come back home, they're not the same. And it does seem to me that it's missing that. So I mean, I think that's a big thing that affects the film's narrative. But it is surprising just how much looking at. I mean, he's done other films recently, including things like Limitless, but to look back at how Bradley Cooper has come on as an actor to end up in a role like this and then be nominated for Best Actor, deservedly so, for this film. I don't think he should have won it, but I think he definitely deserved the Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think we both agree with the film itself. I think we both see eye to eye. It's rare that we do that, but we can see the misgivings with the movie, but we can appreciate parts of the film as well, because it does tell his life. Chris Kyle's life, and the unfortunate thing that happened with it. It's been in the news anywhere, and it's now resolved. And the fact that I don't think the ending handled that well at all either. But the original ending would not have worked. You need to actually look at how the original ending, the way Clint Eastwood was going to end the film, and the original ending would just not have worked for the film in tone.
I think the ending, the way it stands on there, it feels as if the film's been done, and then between it being made and between it being released, something's happened. It's not. It happened. Everything that happened before the film was done. But it feels as though like it's one of those films where they've had to change the ending because of events happening while they were making it.
Well, they did, because they shot the original ending, which I'm not going to spoil what it is. I'm not going to say what it is. It is out there on the internet somewhere, so if you're interested in that, watch the film and maybe look for the original ending. But the original ending would not have worked for the film in tone. And this ending here, I'm guessing they just didn't have enough time to try and think of a different way to end it, and it was tacked on.
Okay.
Next.
On to Shaun the Sheep movie, which is directed by Mark Burton and Richard Starzak. It is Aardman animation, so that's one ticket already has going for it. It is the animation of the TV character Shaun the Sheep, this time done for a film, obviously, and it's the whole thing of that Shaun, who him and all these other sheep are sort of doing their everyday daily routine of them going around and being sort of herded around the farm. You have them, you have the dog of the farm, and you have the farmer. There is no dialogue in the film, so we don't have a clip, but it's basically it's the closest thing you get to a silent movie. There are sort of noises of the sheep bleating, and the sort of you get the that kind of noises of they make things, they do something that's the suggested noise, and that the kind of agree and that kind of thing that you have from people. And it's a film that though it's a kids film, but it's not just for kids. It's fun, it's funny, it has these moments in it that are just ridiculous. It has this whole thing about that the sheeps, including Shaun, decides they've had enough, they want to take a break, they want to take the day off. So they do this thing where they basically put the farmer into a caravan and think, okay, we'll fake it so he goes to sleep and he'll sleep through the day and we'll have a nice day and rest. But what happens is that the caravan ends up sort of moving and going along the street, down a hill, picking up speed, momentum, going into town. The farmer bangs his head, loses his memory, and ends up becoming a barber. Yeah, it's kind of that bizarre and weird, but it's a kids' film. But it's fun, it's adults, and it's amazing. It's really enjoyable. I am going to make my other half watch it, because I saw it at the cinema. She hasn't seen it, and she didn't want to come and see it with me. But I am going to make her watch it, because she will just fall in love with it, as will anyone who sees it. I don't see how anyone could dislike this film. It's brilliant, and especially if you've got kids. It's something you can sit and watch and enjoy with them as much as they will.
Yeah, I did. I laughed at a few parts. There's one part where it involves them taking Shaun into the sort of like prison, the pen area, and you've got the multiple different animals in there, and that cracked me up. I just loved the way they do that with the Silence of the Lambs cat with the cat collar on. And then you've got the turtle as well, and you've got the bulldog with the very stereotypical tattoos that you would normally expect on it. And the film itself, for a silent movie which is on for 80 minutes, is really entertaining. And that's just down to the fact that Aardman know what they're doing. They don't release like 2-3 films a year. They release one film every 3-4 years. So it's a fun film.
I would love to see Aardman doing something with like Pixar, not doing it to do like CG animation, but I'd love to see Aardman working with someone like John Lasseter, or have John Lasseter direct an Aardman film. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, Whiplash, directed by Damien Chazelle, and it centres around Miles Teller's character of Andrew, who is a very ambitious young jazz drummer. He's really into his drums. He spends a lot of time creating the music that he does, especially with jazz. It's all about creating what you do, and so he wants to join a class which is run by J.K. Simmons' sadistic Fletcher, and he is a person who makes sure that everybody gets everything done to the perfect T. Not something very close to it, not something getting near to the edge of it, or just caressing the crest of it. He is somebody who was meticulous about his details. Everything has to sound the way he wants it to sound, and obviously he's trying to drum it into his students, and he really gets extremely angry when somebody does a slip-up. There is a scene earlier on in the film where Miles Teller's character, he is drumming, and you can hear yourself, you think to yourself, actually he's got that perfect, yet Simmons' character is instantly latched on and going, you've done something different there, haven't you? And he's trying to teach him that you need to listen to what you're doing and strive for perfection. And here's a clip which sort of like he's gone through a lot, Miles Teller's character, when this clip is played, and it's just a dinner scene where he's starting to stick up for himself as well.
Got any friends, Andy?
No.
Oh, why's that?
I don't know. I just never really saw the use.
Oh, who you can play with otherwise? Lennon and McCartney, they were school buddies, am I right?
Charlie Parker didn't know anybody until Joe Jonas threw a cymbal at his head.
So that's your idea of success, huh?
I think being the greatest musician of the 20th century is anybody's idea of success.
Dying
broke and drunk and full of heroin at the age of 34 is not exactly my idea of success.
I'd rather die drunk, broke at 34 and have people at a dinner table talk about me than live to be rich and sober at 90 and nobody remember who I was.
But your friends will remember you. That's the point.
None of us were friends with Charlie Parker. That's the point.
Travis and Dustin, they have plenty of friends and plenty of purpose.
I'm sure they'll make great school board presidents someday.
Oh, that's what this is all about? You think you're better than us?
Catch on quicker and model you in?
I got a reply for you, Andrew. You think Carleton football's a joke? Come play with us.
4 words you will never hear from the NFL.
Who wants dessert?
And from Lincoln Center?
And no, just during that clip there, you did a little bit of a giggle.
Yeah, that's because it's one of the best lines in the film. It's a great laugh, and it got a great laugh in the cinema plenty of times when I saw it, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it just shows you the confidence that has been imbued into him, even though he gets hit down with every mistake that he's made. It just sort of like starts to build up his confidence during the movie, which leads to the ultimate 10 minutes, which has got to be the most tense 10 minutes I've ever experienced in a film for a very, very long time. And that's down to the way what Miles Teller puts into his character. Now, both Simmons and Teller deserve a hell of a lot of plaudits for what they've created with this film. So does Damien Chazelle with his direction. But because of Simmons and Teller latching onto their characters so much that it demanded that kind of attention, it demanded that kind of precision, and it is just... by the end of it, you practically need an inhaler because you've lost your breath, because there's so much that happens in the movie. There is so much tension. You need to actually get an ambulance on standby just in case. And so the film, like I said, is brilliantly acted. It's brilliantly set out, and it's definitely deserving of the plaudits that it's got, and it's definitely deserving of being involved in movies of the year lists.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, I said at the time when I saw it in the cinema, it's in my top 10 films of the year already. And I knew at that point, that was early on, I knew it would be, because it is just such a good film.
Yeah, ditto.
Okay, The Gambler, which is a remake of a 1970s film. It's directed by Rupert Wyatt. The original film, I believe it was, had James Caan in it. This one has Mark Wahlberg in the role of Jim Bennett, who is he's a teacher at a university. He teaches a sort of English literature, I think it is. He is sort of dealing with all that while in sort of his other life, he's actually quite a prolific gambler. He plays cards. He does all these other kind of things where he gambles away. Ends up that he's kind of in a bit of a situation with people that he owes money to. There's sort of this sort of weird thing going on where he is in a relationship with one of his teaching assistants, and it's played by Brie Larson, and it's all about him having to try and figure out, you know, his next move, as it was, with his life, which is basically sort of spiraling out of control because of his gambling, leading him to at one point approach a new person to ask them to loan him further money so he can get himself out of debt. Here's a clip.
You drink? I don't remember if you drink. Of course, there's drink and drink. I drink, but I haven't been drunk since Reagan was president. I got a DUI, and in jail, I actually fell down and my pants. You don't need to do that twice. I tell you this so you'll know everybody's been there.
Everybody's been there.
Once. If you're there twice, I can't help you. Which leads me to ask, are you pulling this just now or forever?
What's the difference?
I need to know if you got the brains to walk when it's time to walk. I've seen you be $500,000 up.
I've been up $2.5 million.
You still owe large 2 places you shouldn't. Why do you want door number 3?
How else do I get out?
If I give you this money and you don't pay me back, there are no rules. Do you understand the gravity of your situation?
I understand.
Here's the thing with The Gambler. It's rubbish. It really is genuinely just boring, awful. Mark Wahlberg is maybe not necessarily the right actor for it, but I would say the film itself is just it's horribly paced. It doesn't have any interest for you at all. There's nothing there to keep you interested in or even care about the character, who at one point is actually threatened up against the wall, being beaten badly, and just doesn't care, which makes you care about them even less than you possibly could, because you need to care about the character to be interested in them, or have something about them that you find interesting or you like or you're curious about. And there is nothing about this character, nothing about the film that gets you interested, that actually does anything except want to put you to sleep. It's just an awful film. I hated it. I thought it was absolutely terrible. I actually think it's going to be amongst my worst films. I don't know it'll be in the worst films, my top 10 worst films, but if it's not in my top 10, it'll be in my top 15. It's pretty damn awful.
I've not seen it. By the sense of it, I'm escaping a bullet.
Well, I think you should watch it to see how bad it is and see if it'll be in your top 10 of the films of the year. So, end of the year, when we do our combined list, it can maybe go on there.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if I've got enough time to.
It's just awful. I hated it. I mean, Mark Wahlberg is not the best of actors for things as it is at the time, but when he does something like this, you just kind of go, yeah, whatever. Whatever, Wahlberg.
Whatever, Wahlberg. Yeah, my last film of the week, Lost River, directed and written by Ryan Gosling. It's his directorial debut, and it's a very confusing film. But the basic premise of Lost River is that you've got a town which is practically being abandoned. People are moving away from it, and it's degrading, and buildings are collapsing, and they're getting pulled down as well. And you've got a mother who's played by Christina Hendricks. She lives there with her son, who's played by Ian de Kesteker. And for him to survive, he's got a car which he needs to try and build up, but he needs to get copper. And so he decides to steal copper from an area which is run by Matt Smith's character, who plays Bully. However, the house that they live in is used to be her mother's old house, and so she needs a way of trying to pay for the mortgage, and so she ends up getting a job at a very strange, weird club. And just the movie, like I said, it's just, it follows their life, but in a very strange method. Clip. Just play the clip.
I'm actually not interested in the buyout. I'd like to just pay the 3 months and keep the house and stay in the house.
Do you mind if I ask why?
Because I have 2 boys and that is our home. And I grew up in that home and that is our home.
Look, I can make a note for you, right? I can write a novel. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to come up with some of this.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what you can do, but you want to have a think about that very seriously. What you can do, what you're willing to do. And you're a very beautiful lady. And I don't care what you do. I'm not what I do.
And so, yeah, the film on IMDb is described as a fairy tale, which is a very strange thing to describe Lost River, because I would describe it as the kind of movie that you would expect David Lynch or somebody like Tarsem Singh maybe and he's here dear, or even Nicholas Winding Refn, or directors like that to direct. They love the very strange, weird movies, and Ryan Gosling has been spending too much time alongside Nicholas Winding Refn, because the last film that he did was an absolute mess of a movie, and he's trying to copy that, and it completely fails on that point, because it's just a mess of a movie. It has no coherence. Where the movie actually succeeds is the drama part, the part that is centered around Christina Hendricks' character and her trying to survive with her children. It starts off like that, and you're thinking to yourself, I wonder why critics might be bad on this movie. And then you realise when it does happen, when it goes into the strangeness, that's why critics didn't like the film, because he doesn't know how to handle all the strands and story leads that this movie produces. Matt Smith's character is a very strange, quirky, over-the-top character, which is pointless. There is lots of pointless, strange imagery in this movie which didn't need to be in there, and it spoils the first 10-15 minutes. And it's very reminiscent to me. Once I finished watching it, I was thinking to myself, seems to be like The Equalizer. Because if you watch The Equalizer, the Denzel Washington movie, the first 10-15 minutes of the film is actually pretty interesting. And then it goes downhill majorly from there. That's exactly the same with Lost River. The first 10-15 minutes of the film is interesting. After that, it just becomes head-scratching and going, what were you smoking when you were creating this film?
Okay, next, final film of the evening is Stretch. Before I go into it, actually, I'm going to explain the whole thing about Stretch, what happened and why it's coming out straight to video. Because it's a film that is directed by Joe Carnahan, who directed the A-Team movie. He directed Smoking Aces and The Grey, which recently was done with Liam Neeson. So he's a big director, big quality films and everything. You've got Patrick Wilson in the cast. You've got Chris Pine's in the cast. In the cast, Ray Liotta's in there, Jessica Alba, and it's a film that it's actually it's made last year and it hasn't actually been released here until now because of the fact that it was made for only $5 million, which is not a lot, really not a lot at all. And it was at some point then when the financiers made it, they lost distribution. They weren't going to sort of sure to release it, and it's had a lot of problems trying to get released. So it's finally getting released on DVD and Blu-ray. It is a film that follows the character of Stretch, played by Patrick Wilson, who is called Stretch because he drives a Stretch limo. He is a guy who sort of is in a little bit of a situation where he finds himself formerly being $12,000 in debt, having paid off $6,000 of it, now being approached by someone else who has bought his debt and basically says to him, "You owe me $6,000, you owe me it, I want it in one go tonight." Finds himself obviously not able to pay that much straight away, so starts sort of looking for ways that he can maybe try and make some money, coming up with the potential thing of stealing another customer, which turned out to be played by Chris Pine, who is playing this sort of weird, eccentric, long-beard, long-haired guy who is kind of weird sort of things, and ends up sort of saying to him, help me out. If you do everything I want you to do tonight, then I'll maybe give you sort of a big tip at the end of the night, which will then come up to that. So he ends up sort of going a long way, meeting into all these different sort of kind of characters and weird things going on, finding himself in situations which, that far-fetched thing sort of thing happens. Don't have a clip for this, but it's a case of that this is a film that the thing that really annoys me about this is that this isn't a fantastic film, it's not a brilliant film, it's an okay film. It's good, it's stupid, it's fun, it has this whole thing of little sort of bits of comedy interjected into it which are genuinely funny and did make me laugh. And it's a film that, it really annoys me, this going straight to video and not getting a proper release, not getting dealt with purely because it only cost $5 million to make, and people then, even though it only cost $5 million, not wanting to spend any more money on it to distribute it and advertise it and such. So, and when there are films, as we said, like we had previously this week, we had Search Party in cinema section getting released, and it's not funny at all. It's dire. And then we had in the DVD section as well, we just had things like The Gambler, which is awful and not worth your time. Whereas this is not necessarily worth your time, but it's more worth your time than stuff like that. Patrick Wilson is fantastic in it. You have small little appearances from all other people. You've got James Badge Dale, Jessica Alba, Ray Liotta has a small role in it. David Hasselhoff makes an appearance in his typical David Hasselhoff cameo, but is funny. And even Ed Helms pops up in a little sort of weird recurring moment, which has a kind of a joke and a punchline, which works very well. And the film itself, although mildly predictable, especially towards the end of the film, I enjoyed it, got into it. I like Joe Carnahan as a director. It has that weird, zany madness to it that his films do, and I was perfectly pleased with it for the hour and a half that it took to watch it.
Okay then, we nearly to the 2 hour mark, even though at the start of the show you said we were 90 minutes, but we normally do that anyway.
We've done 11 films, 12 films.
Over the next few weeks, I will actually say that it will not calm down. Trust me, I've been having a look at some of the DVDs that are out over the next 3-4 weeks, and there are a lot coming out. It makes up for weeks when we've had just 4 or so. But we'll go on to a TV movie of the week before we round out the show. Now you've got a couple. I've only got one because I struggled.
Yeah, I got a few. In order of being shown. Wednesday the 3rd of June at 11:15 PM on BBC One, Eagle Eye which is the one which is a kind of a weird computer thriller, but it's a good weird action film, and it has, if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, has some nice little twists and bits here and there, and I enjoyed it, despite it having Shia LaBeouf in it.
Yeah, I still didn't like it though, even if it didn't have him in it.
Saturday the 6th of June, I think you might not like this one either, but I love this film. Again on BBC One, 11:20 PM, Tropic Thunder.
I've not seen it.
You've not seen it? That's your mission for the week, to watch that on Saturday night. I love this. It's hysterical. I think it's hysterical. I think it's brilliant. It is one of these films, it's Ben Stiller in it and also directing. And Ben Stiller is one of these people who his sense of humour and his direction can be very hit or miss. And it was kind of hit or miss when it was released, but if you haven't seen it, it's a film that people should see, and if they hate it, then fair enough, they hate it, but they may find something in it they like, especially some of the characters in it and some of the things in it are just stupidly funny. But I enjoyed it. I really like it.
Nope, I've not seen it, so I can't comment on it. It is one of those little tiny gaps that I have.
Well, I know you've seen the last one because we were talking about it before, and you've seen it, and you almost picked it as well.
Yeah.
It's on Sunday the 7th of June, overnight to Monday the 8th of June. It's on because it's on at 1:15 AM Sunday night, Monday morning. Rust and Bone on Film 4.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film.
It is, and it's a film that I described it, and I'm going to stick with that as well. I described it as a romantic drama without the romance. Romance.
Romance. Yes, it is.
Yes. I say that as I sit here puffing on my cigarette on the yes.
It's got.
Oh dear! I just dropped my monocle. Oh dear.
It's brilliantly acted by Maria Cotillard and Matthias Schoenaerts, and that's where I first saw Matthias Schoenaerts. Obviously, not Maria Cotillard, but it's a very interesting drama, and like you said, it's got the romance there, but do not let that put you off.
No, it's not. It kind of doesn't have the romance there, which is the weird thing. It's a romantic drama without the romance. It's the odd thing, but that's the only way I can kind of describe it very simply.
Yeah, well, my only one TV movie of the week, because I had trouble, because I was going to think about going with Rust and Bone, but I made that my TV movie of the week a couple of weeks ago. I was also going to see the Monster in Paris, which is getting repeated on Film 4 on Sunday afternoon, which I still highly recommend people watch that. But that was my TV movie last week. And so my TV movie of the week this week is on Film 4 on Saturday the 6th. It's actually on tonight as well, but it'll be finished now. By the time you go, you can watch it on Plus One.
What time is it on? Yeah, I was going to say Plus One channels on most things.
Yeah, at 20 to 11, it's Insidious. Because Insidious Chapter 3 is out on Friday. I watched Insidious 2, didn't think much of it. Watched it a second time, thought it was slightly better. Insidious 1, I really liked. It's very creepy, very weird. It's got some really interesting elements to it. And it has got a few jump scares in the movie. Not just the quiet bang kind of thing, but it has got some really interesting jump scares in the film. So my TV movie of the week is Insidious. Movie of the week, son.
It's actually, and not because of the fact that we've done so many, but because of the fact that there are so many that are worthy. It's really difficult for me to just say one.
I can easily choose one.
Yeah, but you haven't seen. I've seen all the films this week. I mean, in the cinema, genuinely in the cinema, it's a toss-up between Danny Collins and Man Up, and on home release. Ex Machina, Ex Machina, and Shaun the Sheep. Ex Machina for adults, Shaun the Sheep for adults with kids.
No mention for Whiplash there, but we've lauded Whiplash as well.
Sorry,
See,
I don't have it on. It's because you reviewed it this week. I didn't review it, so.
Yeah, you're having an aneurysm trying to think of what film, but
sorry.
For me personally, Ex Machina. I love Whiplash. But I think Ex Machina is one of those rare things in intelligent sci-fi. Sci-fi seems to be a genre that they dumb down a lot, and intelligent sci-fi is really hard to come by.
In fact, I think all of them except for Shaun the Sheep, the ones that I like, have got Ex Machina, Whiplash, and then cinema, Man Up, Danny Collins. They're all 15s. So if you're over 15... you've got a lot to watch, or tough luck, you've got to pick from those four options. If you've got kids, though, or you're under 15, then watch Shaun the Sheep.
Yeah. Or if you've got the mental age of that. Just watch. Actually, if you're 90, watch Shaun the Sheep. No matter how old you are, watch Shaun the Sheep.
At any age, yeah. Well, yeah. If you're over 15, then you got a choice of all 5 of them.
So there's a lot of films for you to choose from. Good way for us to dig ourselves out of a hole, even though we nearly actually hit the middle of the earth. But that's it for this week's show. We will be back next week on Monday, hopefully. And we'll let you know if we're not. The details will go up on the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can also email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/mondaymovieshow, or on Twitter @mondaymovieshow. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. Andrew's at EHDVD, and the YouTube and iTunes and any kind of.
We're not on YouTube anymore, are we?
We are still on YouTube. Yeah, I sorted the problem thing out on YouTube, so we're still on YouTube. Yeah, we're on iTunes. We're on any kind of podcast app on Android, because once you upload it to one, it goes on to every single one of them. So no matter what Android app you download, we're there. Nice thought that for you, isn't it?
It's kind of scary, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. So we'll play you out with a clip of a film that we're reviewing on next week's show, which is Spy. Andrew's already seen it.
Yes. And I'm actually going to go as far as to say, I am surprised I did not hate it.
We'll elaborate more so next week. So until next week, we'll play you out with the clip, and goodbye.
Bye.
You got this, Susan. You're a warrior. You're a weapon. Hey, this is no sweat.
Looks like you're sweating to me.
Jesus! What are you doing in my room?
Well, how did I get into this box hotel room? Because I'm a real spy.
I thought you quit.
We have to stop the sale of a nuclear bomb. And they send in someone who looks like Santa Claus's wife.
Did you forget? I am undercover. Because you're not supposed to be here.
You really think you're ready for the field? I once used defibrillators on myself. I put shards of glass on my eye. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute and broke both legs upon landing. And I still had to pretend I was in a Cirque du Soleil show. I've swallowed enough microchips and them back out again to make a computer. This arm has been ripped off completely and reattached with this arm.
I don't know that that's possible. I mean, medically.